We look to clients who have software development teams at the moment in South Africa. I think about 69%, if I'm not mistaken, of software development is offshored internationally. And this is whilst we have a 63% unemployment rate amongst the youth. There's a massive disparity there, and something that is what Red Academy looks to tackle.
To your point, it's like we have this massive unemployment, yet there is such a demand for developers, and let's connect the two.
I've heard it's nearly 30,000 vacancies or something in the junior space if you had to bring the roles back into South Africa.
Welcome everybody to How Would You Build It? It's episode 28 and it is still Women's Month, and I'm very happy to have Jessica Hawkey, the Managing Director of Red Academy, join me. Jess, how are you doing today?
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me today and this Women's Month as well.
Yeah. No, fantastic. I mean, we had previous podcasts and guests, and I just said, especially in the tech space, and, Red Academy is sort of a tech hub helping people learn to code. When you go to these spaces, just in general, the ratio of male to female is always outnumbered, and it's really nice to see successful businesswomen in the field. And so I reached out to you, and thank you for joining. But on that note, what is your take on that kind of discrepancy in the tech industry and the market as such?
It definitely exists in the tech industry. I think that there is quite a disparity, as you've mentioned, between males and females in the space. But the one thing that is exciting is that South Africa is ahead of the game when it comes to females in technology. We do have better representation. The numbers are still extremely low. But at Red Academy, we are focused on getting women into tech. We are focused on empowering them. We've got some fantastic ladies that are a part of our program. We've got, moms that drop off their children in the mornings before coming in here. We've got some fantastic matriculants who are a part of the program. And all these women are extremely excited about growing their careers in technology. But I think that the bigger thing is, whilst we are represented quite well in tech as females, the bigger sort of concept or problem, if I want to call it that, not that I want to say problem, but is the unemployment rate and how few people are in roles, in jobs at all. It's not just females in technology that we need to focus on. It's individuals in technology in South Africa. And I think that, especially in the software development space, there is that massive, massive, massive opportunity to get a number of people, including females, into these roles.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more. So on that note, can you just explain sort of your elevator pitch for Red Academy? What is it that you guys do?
Brilliant. So we build software development talent pipelines for organizations. And what this means is that we train inside a client's live environment. We train youth inside a client's business from the very first day. The training is all about creating careers for youth. And we look for talented, passionate, excited youth who want to enter the tech space, who are really driven to make something of their futures, and who recognize the benefits, I suppose, of looking and starting with the end in mind. And why I say that is it's training based on a client's needs, so everything's demand-led. We look to clients who have software development teams at the moment in South Africa. I think about 69%, if I'm not mistaken, of software development is offshored internationally. And this is whilst we have a 63% unemployment rate amongst the youth. There's a massive disparity there, and something that is what Red Academy looks to tackle. We've got incredible youth. We've got a number of businesses and great ecosystems, particularly here in Cape Town. And it's about merging those two, sort of training, and not just training for training's sake. Training with a sort of, as I say, a career in mind, getting the guys involved in the business from the very first day, getting them doing practical experience. And that's our main focus. So 6 months of the program is actually live project work. So our team develops solutions for the clients. So it's somebody described it to me yesterday, actually, when they were talking about Red Academy, and they were saying, you're a for-profit business with a massive social impact. And I actually, to use somebody else's explanation, I really thought that was a great way of summing up what we're doing.
Yeah, no, but I can't agree more. I mean, it's fantastic, and we definitely need more. And I think there's so many things that we can touch on this, right? I mean, just in terms of the education system and how it's failing the youth of South Africa. I mean, there's a whole conversation over there. Then there's how education is actually busy being disrupted. We've got AI, we've got different ways of learning, and that's what I like about what you've explained about Red Academy, is that there's that practical side. I've been in the working field for many, many years, and I've been in recruitment teams. I've recruited a number of people, and it's actually scary how many people don't actually know what their skill is when they join the job market, right? So they go to varsity, but they still come to the work and don't know what to do. They still don't understand it. They have all this theory locked up in their brain, but they don't know how to tap into it and actually use it properly. So there's this like new way of actually learning that's coming through, especially with all the technology advances that we have. So, I mean, what's your take? Like, how is Red Academy kind of adapting to this changing world?
Absolutely. I think you've sort of hit the nail on the head there, that universities have a big place in life. I'm not saying that university doesn't add value or anything like that. But I think when it comes to technology and that rate of change that you've just mentioned, I think that it needs to be done more close to the source. It needs to be done inside the live environment when it comes to training. And what we have found as well, when we're training for careers, we're wanting to get the youth into jobs as quickly as possible. Because in technology, you never stop learning. So get the skills you need. So everything that we train for is completely customized to our clients' tech stack and to their operational processes inside their live environment. So we teach the youth who come into the program, sprinters as we call them, because we sprint them quite hard in their 1 year program. But it sort of catapults their career from there, because they graduate, and we've actually had 100% success rate of our graduates moving over into software development roles inside the client's business after the program. And they've learned their tech stack, from the very first day. They've been doing stand-ups because the client does stand-ups. They've been coming into the office environment, and they still get to eat the same popcorn on a daily basis now that they've been fully employed there. And they carry on learning, and they're growing, and they're sort of developing their careers continuously inside the client's environment. But how do you get that first step into the business? How do you get that sort of launch into it? And if we then transfer it over to the client side, in the software development space, there is such demand, and there is no resources for clients to really, and their development teams, to spend time upskilling guys who have come in, they've learned a different tech stack, or they've learned it theoretically. How do you get them valuable? And that investment, they say, takes about 3 to 6 months. And that's where our practical element comes in. Yeah. We'll overcome that for clients. We'll overcome it for the youth as well, whilst they've got support inside Red Academy and working on those live projects. So they get the benefit of that period of getting to grips with the live work. And then the client also, gets to just absorb guys who are ready to hit the ground running, valuable from the very first day after the program.
That's a big thing. I'm working corporate at the moment, so shoot me now. But anyways, but we were literally talking about it the other day, about how long it actually takes for a new employee to actually start adding value to a business. It takes 3 to 4 to 6 months before they can actually start adding value. And there's that's a cost. I mean, because the company needs to pay for that, So one of the questions that I had for you was, how does this benefit startups? But first, before we go there, do you guys service startups, or what is your ideal client that you guys are actually servicing at this point?
At the moment, our client is larger clients. So our ideal client, because we set up inside the client's live environment, we have an ops team. So maybe startups who want to partner with us, that will be useful. But the client size is large clients who have software development teams of excess of 200. Because our pipeline is 10 candidates twice a year. So there's always candidates who are doing the theory phase, then candidates who are delivering the software development in that second 6 months. So we're ideally looking for clients who are either scaling, clients who are having difficulty finding people who understand their tech stack, understand their company culture, understand their environment, and want to cut out those recruitment costs, want to cut out those onboarding costs, want to get projects developed during the training phase. And it's also a chance to vet the candidate. The candidate gets to prove themselves and say, hey guys, I'm valuable to your business. But likewise, the business gets to see, is this somebody who's actually going to deliver once they're in my team? So something that I'm very excited about is the re-onshoring of jobs eventually as well. And that's a space I want to get into, is to go into organizations who need juniors in their team, and obviously they'll grow up and go up in the ranks. But then eventually to start bringing some of this business back into the ecosystem and software development back into the ecosystem that ultimately then feeds other startups and feeds other, founders in their careers and their businesses as well.
The key is ecosystem, right? So we talk about Silicon Cape, and we talk about this great ecosystem of startups or the tech industry in Cape Town in South Africa. Yet we have an unemployment. And one thing that I've always done is if you go onto any company's website, you click on the careers tab, 9 out of 10, what are you going to see? Software, front end, back end developers needed. Like that is at the core always. That's what I've always thought about. Exactly to your point. It's like we have this massive unemployment, yet there is such a demand for developers, and let's connect the two.
I've heard it's nearly 30,000 vacancies or something in the junior space if you had to bring the roles back into South Africa. So there's when you speak to other people in the ecosystem, and I think it's something that I'm so passionate about as a founder and as starting up a business, growing or scaling now at this stage, is talk to as many people as you can. And it's such an exciting space to be in, and especially in Cape Town. But there is this problem is across the board, whether you have a small startup, whether you are a large organization, but there's room for so many people to play in this space. It's just how do we all come together and support software development in South Africa?
So what I'm quite curious about is the tech stacks, right? Because like we've already discussed about how quickly things evolve in the technology space, like AI's come along. I mean, in the last, we're already in August, but I mean, that was a bomb that was dropped at the end of last year, beginning of this year, right? But what is the trend that you've seen in your clients in terms of the tech stacks? Because, in the startup space and a lot of these youngsters, they don't want to touch PHP. They hear PHP, they want to run for the door. They're like, don't tell me, I don't want to learn it. I want to learn JavaScript, and I want to learn Node.js. Don't give me PHP. There's Scala. Anyways, what is the trend that you're kind of seeing that people are interested, or that, like, how are you matching, the tech stacks and the clients?
No, awesome. I think from our side, we are still seeing a trend for, if I can call it, the traditional and the most prominent coding languages, being your Java and your C#. That is still predominantly what's needed in the market. Organizations have large systems and they're not necessarily, evolving immediately to the latest technology. These are the ones that are universally used and across the board. And I think that they're a fantastic foundation for somebody entering their career to get into. But what we have found with our clients so far is that we've been able to incorporate some of the more recent tech stacks as they've come in and as they've been needed by the clients. So as they get whether it be a new end client on board, or whether it be something else they're looking to bring in through a new system, things on the front end, for example, React, etc., we've been able to teach our candidates. So because we build long-term partnerships with our clients, because we are that talent pipeline for them on an ongoing basis, it allows us to adapt our program, incorporate some of these latest technologies. But I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think a lot of people get caught up in all of these crazy, weird and wonderful, sort of techs that come out there. And it's not necessarily the way to go in a career. I think always start with that foundational sort of knowledge in terms of your tech stack, and then get into the weird and wonderfuls, from there. I think if you're looking for a career, looking to start get into a company, I think that is still the way to go, from what I have experienced.
Yeah, well, I've been in companies, I've been with startups and everything, and people that have built something in, 10, 15 years ago in PHP is still working as reliably as it is now, as it was then. So, like, it's there, it works. Why would you want to go and, mess with things? So I know that there's definitely a space for it, and that's what the big corporates are using. So that is a great foundation, I suppose. And then, like you said, you can get into the wacky and wonderful stuff later.
Yeah, it's not dead yet. And I think that, as a developer, you're always going to be learning. You're always going to be, I think that they are problem solvers. We're finding that they are people who are hungry for knowledge, who, are always curious. So there's always going to be the opportunity to learn. There's opportunity for additional projects. And then carry on exploring, carry on looking for that information and exploring those sort of tech stacks. But at the moment, in terms of demand, that is what we're still finding in the market. Yeah.
So going back to kind of this market that we've been chatting about, are you finding it easy with finding clients? I mean, are they just like knocking at your door, like when's the next batch, when's the next cohort of developers that we can get from you? A lot of people in the startup space, in business in general, right? They like, we struggle to find our customers. Are you having that fear or that problem at all?
I think it's something that we experienced up front. I think when we started to really get that message of we can deliver software for you, through the program, we can find talented people. There was a little bit of skepticism out there, but I think that now it's sort of changing. Now that we've got graduates who have come out of the program, guys that have gone from a construction background, and come through the program, they've gone and redone some matric subjects because they believed in themselves and they've excelled in our program, and now they're excelling in the client space. I think that we are now seeing that sort of shift in the clients' interest in Red Academy, the understanding of Red Academy, the realization that you can get projects developed through this, that you can get, during the program, then you can get work-ready developers at the end. And we're seeing it now. I think it's taken that buy-in from all stakeholders. So to have the buy-in from the client side, we've got already seeing the benefit of it, the buy-in of the youth excelling in the program and wanting to be a part of it. I mean, we accept, I think, about 5% of our applicants at the moment. So it is a very rigorous, selection process. We've had local government support us in terms of, the sort of coming to our graduation, our CETA that we've got, our sort of opportunities to travel, with the sort of different cohorts. So I think once you've got those stakeholders, that credibility does still go a long way, and it is still needed. So I wish I could say people were banging down our door. We're not there yet. That is the plan for the future, but it has taken some time to build that credibility. I think that I'm sure that you can relate as well. But when you're a founder, there's no sort of free moment where your mind isn't thinking of work, where it isn't sort of connecting the dots between something that you're coming across in your daily life into how this, incorporates into your business. But stick it through. I think that it does take some time. I think especially maybe in the education space and the software development space, because it is such a new concept of, entering a career in 1 year. That it has taken some time to build that credibility, but with our stakeholders, we are there now.
Yeah, and just describe, because there's so many edtech sort of platforms being built. Explain how you guys came to the understanding of this is the traditional way of doing things, right? Where you go into your traditional colleges or varsities, whatever it is. You do your 2 to 3 year course, and then bye, have a good day, best of luck. Versus now saying, hold on, why don't we train them while we bring them into that? So that's like, I feel like that's like the way we're moving towards, and it might not just happen in tech space, but in design and in other things. It's like, let's give them the fundamental foundation while we get them into the workspace. Like, how did that kind of evolve for you guys?
Yeah. I mean, there's a number of reasons. I think that it's something I even experienced. So I did go to university when I was starting my career or having left school, and I studied management accounting, and I couldn't find a job in management accounting once I graduated. I was going to night classes, to get my chartered status in management accounting. And I was doing a stock control job during the day because I had no evidence. I couldn't show that, hey, I can contribute to your business. I know what it is that you do. And yes, I had a piece of paper, but I had theoretical knowledge. I didn't have a skill set. So I think it's always been there. But then if we go and we couple that with what South Africa is experiencing at the moment, South African youth don't have 3 years before they can earn a career or before they can go look for a job. We talk of university being tickets to the game, but it's like, what game? When does this game start? Do I like this game? Is it really there? Is it going to take place? Whereas I think with Red Academy and training for a career, so starting with that job, starting with a company saying, hey guys, I have this role. Can you find me the perfect person to fill it? And by perfect person, I mean the person with the customized sort of knowledge, on my tech stack, with the operational sort of processes and understanding, who shares the same values, who has an enthusiasm, for their career, passionate about problem solving. So there's that side of things. So the time, what ticket am I getting? What game am I going to the rugby? Am I going to the netball? When is this taking place? Do I like the sport? Is very important. So I think that, Red Academy And this way of learning offers that. You know what game it is you're buying a ticket to. On the HR front, as we're just talking about now with looking at the vacancies when you log into any site, and it's just software development. So there's a need there. HR is spending tremendous amounts of resources on recruitment, and then is it the right talent? And then what about the drain on my current team once I bring this person, on board? And then any CIO or CTO, I'm sure will be able to tell you the number of backlog projects that they have that need to be worked on. And let us take that off your hands, or let this new way of learning, whether you say, even if it's design, give them different projects, to design and to work on and really get involved in. And the candidates also get a lot of belief in themselves when they walk into an interview, and they can say, I have the skills, I have the evidence. In fact, do you want to see my portfolio that I've, prepared for you? And clients paying for it get the benefit of, from the CEO to, the junior sort of level is using the projects and products that our team have put out. So I think it's something that South Africa needs, but it's something that, the tech industry needs as well.
Mm-hmm. I think there's something really cool. I have like two kind of questions. It's kind of the life cycle of the actual candidates, or let's call them sprinters. But if we think about coming through, so I again working at an agency, and we did an intern program, right? So they went to, I can't remember what code school they went to, but they came through, they didn't even understand what an API was or how to build one, but they needed to kind of start coding for us off the bat. Obviously you can't do that, so we had understanding that our company had this internship program, but there was this level of, there's that learning that happens on the job. So there was, the head engineers actually had to take time out of their day to go and help these juniors kind of get their feet wet and understanding how they can start contributing. So I think the first level of my question is, tell me more about that experience for a candidate or a sprinter that is getting that mentorship while studying. I mean, that is like a double whammy. I mean, you're not only just learning something, but they're actually someone's guiding you, because like you spoke about going to a stand-up, people talk about the problems and their solutions in those stand-ups. Immediately, you're just getting a wealth of like, oh, it's not just something I'm doing in a textbook or in my code, IDE. I'm actually figuring out that I need to do this. So can you just explain that kind of environment and relationship?
No, it's fantastic. I think that, that mentorship is invaluable. And for people to have mentorship from seniors in their career, people who are at the top of their field and the top of their game, whilst you've just left matric, I think it's an exceptional start. But at Red Academy, we also do have dedicated lecturers. So the first 6 months is that, because our candidates don't need to know how to code, so we don't take graduates who've gone to university or anything like that before. They just need to have an attitude and an aptitude that we test for up front. So the first 6 months is the lecturing training, that mentorship, that soft skills that we go through. We go through things like, how do you dress for work? What happens when we say 8:30? We mean 8:30. And, those sort of elements as well that are valuable, because I think that university, you kind of wake up on a Thursday after going out and you're like, I don't really feel like going to class today. But in the workplace, that doesn't happen. So it's training for all of those skills that happens in the first 6 months, together with working on projects, that it's also getting to grips with the project side of things, but not necessarily the live projects. Then in the second 6 months, that's where it gets real work orientated and exciting. So we'll have a development project manager that oversees their live delivery that they do. But then there will be the BAs that come into the business, the QAs that test on the far end, that architect that will support their delivery. So they are a development team themselves. They are working together, that team dynamics, that input from managers, reporting back, because now in your stand-up you have a delivery, you have a time commitment that you've made and you're accountable for. And we've seen our team flourish through that. Yes, it's challenging at first. Yes, it's a bit scary, but I think that there's not much else that you need to know when you're entering your junior role after that, after having those kind of experiences. I think it's the life skills, the self-belief as well that you get through the program, not just the technical skills and that technical mentorship.
Confidence.
Exactly that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like that. And tell me the relationship with your clients. So obviously they must know, okay, we're getting a junior, breathe, because we're going to have to guide them. Or are they quite like welcoming because they know that in the long run, it's going to be fruitful. It might take that, the first 6 months of a new cohort coming through. What's that like? I
Yeah.
mean, they must be quite forgiving and quite keen to kind of help, right? Because of the longer game that you're playing towards.
Because we oversee that 6 months in Red Academy. So Red Academy is that year-long program. So that 6 months of delivery where they're getting to grips with the working environment is actually overseen by our team. So there's very limited time of our clients that we take in that stage. And it actually becomes less and less and less as we build that sort of knowledge of each other's businesses, of the way of working, of the tech stack, of the delivery, of who the contact people, are. So there was, I suppose, fears or that assumption just because of the amount of experiences that people have had with taking on, interns, that was going to be the case. But we've been, very excited to see that it's not the case. The guys have been very valuable and have been placed into different teams and are working on projects immediately once leaving and going into the client's environment. But the other thing that it allows is if the guys are 80% prepared going over into the client's live environment after the first round of Red Academy, the next round we just tweak it a little bit further, and we constantly improve and constantly train people to be slightly closer to what it is that the client needs in terms of their tech stack and all those elements. So I think with an internship, you're always going to get the same sort of theory coming out of the sort of machine, whereas here we refine our relationship further and further and further to be closer and closer to what it is that the client needs. And if their tech stack evolves, so too does our training. So there is that element as well. So there's always a continuous improvement sort of cycle of the training.
We call it agile, right?
There we
Empirical
go.
learning, empirical iteration. Sorry, I have to just throw it in there.
Throw in some jargon. Let's do it.
I have to, that's what we do in product. So another thing that we've spoken on a lot on our podcast in the past and our newsletter is around STEM subjects and the lack thereof in terms of, people learning and finishing school with, science, maths, engineering, etc. So how are you finding the candidates? What kind of, you said you do amplitude tests. What does that look like? Like, what does a candidate need in order to apply for Red Academy?
I think on our side, we don't actually focus on the marks so much, and that people are like, "What?" when you say that. But from our side, there is such talent out there. So what we focus on, and we've got quite a, as I say, the sort of lengthy process. None of it is coding related. Yes, you do have to have some form of maths, and you do have to have some form of English. That's also because we are a CETA accredited program, and it is required for that NQF level 5 that we do teach. But we find and we test for things like, do you have the same company values? Can we see accountability in the way that you operate and you conduct yourself? Can we see that you have pride? Can we see why you have a passion for software development? And then we go into the different rounds. So we do in-person interviews. So that's all sort of video, just that initial upfront, getting to know the person, getting a feel for how they convey themselves and what their passion is. And then we go into in-person interviews that are a lot more sort of detailed, getting to understand the candidates. We've really refined who our candidate is, who our person who's going to be successful in the program is. And then we go into the online tests. And as I say, again, it's not coding. It's not school subjects. It's more around the things that set you up for success, the way of thinking that our candidates have that we test for through that. So even that in itself is a learning sort of process. And we've really been able to map out who our ideal person is, who's going to be successful. Because I think in our country where there is such a need for employment, for skilled careers, for growth, for hope, the last thing I want to do is take in somebody into the program who isn't suited to do it, or who isn't the right person, and they're taking up a seat of somebody else who could be changing not only their life, but the life of their family, the life of, each one of them earn a stipend and then go on to earn a salary, and they buy food and take transport and really
Become the
help
breadwinner.
a tremendous number of people around them. So I don't want to exclude anyone who could be right for the program, and likewise, I don't want to bring on anybody who's not going to make it, and just have that difficult sort of conversation with anybody.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. It's an interesting because there's a second secret sauce to Red Academy, and it's that vetting process. But yeah, I agree with you. You want to increase your rate of success of people actually getting through and being a success for your clients. So kind of being that initial filter or that initial vetting makes a lot of sense. I know it's a tough one because you want to help everyone, but yeah.
I think it speaks to any business process, really. You'll find so often, if you spend that time up front, really getting things right, you don't go and put something in that's half baked and try and grow it from there. That's crucial. It sort of grows exponentially your success or your problem that you're going to have. And if we're trying to push somebody who's not right or doesn't have a passion for software development through a program, it's not going to do us a favor, and it's not going to do them a favor. And I think it's translatable into any business, really, and into any sort of process that you're starting or journey that you're starting.
Brilliant. Jess, coming to the end, is there anything that we've missed out on in terms of what you guys are doing and bringing to the ecosystem?
No, I don't think so. I don't think there's any. I think we've covered so many areas. I think it's really about the belief that we can change things, that the startups that are operating in Cape Town, operating in South Africa, there is just so much excitement and so much hope across the board. And that's what I was saying about loving to have these kind of conversations, loving to have conversations with other people and other founders, because as I mentioned, it can be a lonely space, but even if you're talking to somebody who's doing something completely unrelated to what it is you're doing, to have the same it's a little bit scary, isn't it? Conversations, or this is the success I've had, and have somebody else who's, also had to push hard for their success to celebrate it with them. I think that it's an exciting space to be in. And yeah, it's an interesting journey. It's an exciting journey. It's an ongoing, sort of growth and learning and excitement. And one day you're at the highest high, and the next day you sort of think, what have I done here? Why did I leave banking? But no, it's a please no. I've never felt so much passion and purpose in something before as both founding a business and being involved in this space. And I think that it is something I say to people quite often. I could never imagine going back.
Awesome. Yeah, I think what I really enjoyed, you said it very early on, it's you're a profit company in a non-profit kind of world. That speaks a lot, right? You're not just running a business, you're actually helping. The repercussions of what you're doing is amazing. So that's really cool. But to finish off, there's a lightning round that I did not warn you about. So I'm going to give you a couple of questions. You may not think about it.
Cool.
You just say your answer.
Okay.
Split it out. Are you ready?
Let's give it a go.
Okay, cool. In 5 years' time, will people be using X or Threads?
X.
Cool.
Was that the wrong answer? You looked very...
No. It's like right now, if you have dirty secrets, send it to Threads because no one's paying attention. No one's going to see it. Cool. Yeah, why do you say X?
It's not so much a belief in Elon. Well, I do believe in Elon Musk, but I think that Threads had a lot of hype, but almost unbelievably so.
Yeah.
Am I being skeptical? Yes.
No,
I don't want to sound like a skeptic, but I think that Elon's really playing the long game in X. I think that he's doing good there. I'm excited about seeing this transparency that comes through. The proof is going to be in the delivery.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is that we didn't use the word Twitter, and we knew exactly what we were talking about with X. It wasn't, a dirty site. It was actually a
that would have been awkward.
All right. So next question. Would you advise candidates on learning AI, blockchain, or VR AR?
Can I say none?
Ooh, yes, but then you have to say why.
It goes back to my foundational sort of elements of it. I think that, for our program, as an example, to understand the fundamentals of in the software development space, and also to use your own skill sets. I know that AI is very exciting, but learn to do the hard yards yourself, and then go into that.
Cool. What book have you read that has inspired your career the most?
It's not maybe the one that's inspired my career the most, but the most recent one I've just finished is The Mountain Is You. And I think that it's very valuable in careers at the moment, but particularly for our youth.
Okay, interesting. It's a new one. I haven't heard that one, so that's cool. Put that on the list. Last question. Nice. Barbie or Oppenheimer?
Can I say neither again?
You have to choose one. You're going.
Don't I sound like the Grinch now? Oh my gosh. Date night to the movies. Oi.
Yeah, Barbie or Oppenheimer? What do you want to go watch?
I would pick Oppenheimer. Just to put a spanner in the works of Barbie's fame at the moment.
Yeah, and Women's Month and all of that.
Was that the wrong answer?
Okay, cool, Jess. We'll call it there, but thank you very much for joining. Awesome. It's actually really refreshing to hear what's happening in kind of bringing people up. Like, I completely agree that we need more of this in South Africa, in the tech space in general. So keep up the good work, and thank you for joining. And
brilliant.
We'll be following your journey.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Thanks. Great to chat to you.
Cool. Thanks very much.
Cheers.